I'm going to introduce our third and final presentation today, the last of the three finalists. The presenters will be Bernd Sciarra, Nadia Abu Nabut, and Stefan Vogel, who will be presenting a bidding decision support system for profitable search engine marketing. So, Bernd, take it over.
Yeah. Welcome to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It's my big pleasure to present today PROSAD, a bidding decision support system for profit optimizing search engine advertising. My name is Bernd Sciarra. I'm from the University of Frankfurt in Germany. And my two co-presenters will be Nadia Abu Nabut, also from the University of Frankfurt in Germany, and Stefan Vogel, who's head of search engine advertising at Zucchero, which is a Frankfurt-based company. So let me start by outlining why search engine advertising is so important. And nowadays in the US alone, last year, all US companies together spent $12 billion on search engine advertising. And to give you an idea about what does it mean, that's roughly every second dollar that is spent for online advertising. So out of $2, $1 go to search engine advertising. So you might wonder what search engine advertising is. Well, if you go to a search engine, and in most cases in Western countries, it's Google, and for example, you look out for your next vacation trip, you might use a keyword like cruise vacation to find out where's the best website, for example, to book your next vacation. Now, what you will receive is actually two types of results. The one results are those displayed on the left-hand side of the screen, toward the bottom part of the screen. Those are called the organic search results. Those are the results that the search engine algorithms identifies, and the algorithm thinks they best match to the keyword you were searching for. And those are displayed free of charge, and they are also free for the advertisers, even if someone clicks on it. The other advertisements are those on top of the page, as well as on the right-hand side. Those are called paid search results, or sometimes called sponsored search results, and those are all advertisements. That means advertisers pay for that, and you, if you take enough money, you can display your advertisements there. So if you run search engine advertising, what are the major tasks that you need to solve? Well, the first one is you need to select the appropriate keywords. So you need to think about what are the keywords that users are using to search for a vacation. That could be cruise vacation, vacation on the sea, all-inclusive cruise vacations, and so forth. And you will see later on that usually search engine advertising contains thousands of different keywords. The second task that you need to solve, you need to think about creating an appropriate ad copy. You don't have a lot of space for your advertisements. As you can see here, you just have 4 lines. But for example, as you see, the advertisements on the left-hand side, this is more focusing on the good prices that they offer, whereas the other one is more focusing on the high quality. And of course, the text should match to the content that you're offering later on. The third major task is that you need to provide appropriate links to a landing page. A landing page is part of your website. And obviously what you would like to do, if someone is looking for European cruise vacations, you don't want to link it to the American cruise vacations. You would like to link it to all the European offerings. Whereas in contrast, if someone is looking out for American cruise vacations, you would like to directly link it to all the American offerings. And the fourth part is you need to bid on the keywords, and that's the part where we're focused on today. What does it mean to bid on keywords? Well, if you have a look again at the search engine results page, what you will see is that we have here 6 different advertisements, 1 on top of the list and 5 to the right-hand side of the list. Obviously, the one on top of the list usually gets most attention, so that one is most attractive. So that's why it's usually assigned rank 1. And then if you move on to the right-hand side, you have rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, and so forth. Now, the crucial point is how can you get up very high up on the list? And you might wonder whether those search engine providers, whether they have a price list. But they don't have. What they say is they continuously run an auction, And the more you're willing to pay for each single click that you receive, the higher up you're on the list. So every time someone is searching, the search engine provider runs an auction, and essentially the ones who are willing to pay a lot of money, they will end up very high up on the list. So to give you an idea about the prices, this is a study we conducted across 6 different countries: Germany, France, UK, Italy, Spain, and the US, and across 15 different industries. I don't want to bother you with all the details, the prices you need to pay for popular keywords in those industries across those countries, but I would highlight the most important results. First of all, the average price per click across all countries is €66, or if you transfer it to dollars, that's a $2.40. The prices in Italy and Spain, they are lowest. As you can see, they are around €1, whereas for the US and the UK, those are the 2 countries with the highest prices. As you can see over here, for the US, $3.54, and for the UK, even up to $4.14. So if you have a look at different industries, of course, across all industries, again, we have the average price, €66. But for 2 industries, those keywords are particularly expensive. That's first of all the finance and insurance industry with a euro value of close to €4, and everything related to internet services like online marketing and so forth, those prices are even higher. So we are not talking about a small amount of money, we are talking a $12 billion business. And that's of course driven because they receive huge amount of clicks, and every single click costs a significant amount of money. So before we started to collaborate with Stokero, our partner, how did they solve the bidding decision? Well, they did it as most of their competitors do. They developed a rule-based decision-making, and those rules look like the following one here. If the keyword profit per acquisition cost is higher than €10, meaning you make quite a bit of money with that keyword, then of course you would like to have many clicks, and you would like to be rather at the top of the page. So that rule would indicate, then please indicate an increased bid by 30%. An alternative rule could be if the rank is higher than 5, meaning you're rather at the bottom of the page, so you do not get enough clicks, then you might want to increase the bid by 20%. And the rules can even be a bit more complicated, like the third one here. If the keyword profit after acquisition cost is negative, and you receive a significant number of clicks, in that case more than 100, and you're among the top 3 ranks, obviously, you might want to reduce your bid to be a bit more profitable. So the decision rule could say, in that case, please decrease the bid by 20%. So what's the problem with those rules? Essentially, there are 2 problems. The first one is, what are the best values that you use in those rules? So if you take the first rule, why the 30%, why not 20, or maybe even 40%? So this is the first problem. And secondly, those rules can become quite numerous. So you have many, many different rules, and then they might contradict each other. So it's very, very difficult to develop a consistent set of rules. So the idea when we started our collaboration was that we wanted to get rid of all those rules, and we wanted to focus on what all companies should try to focus on, which is profit, and we wanted to replace all those rules with a profit maximizing system. So what does maximizing profit mean? Well, here we'll focus on transactional profit, but there's also a branding component going on because you get displayed free of charge even if you do not receive a click. But due to the interest of time, let's focus on the transactional profit, which is usually much more important. So first of all, we need to have a look at the profit function, which is the profit contribution per conversion. And the conversion could mean many, many different things to advertisers. For example, subscription to a newsletter, subscription to an online community, or what's usually used, the acquisition of a new customer or the acquisition of a new order. So that amount of money, you need to subtract the amount of money you pay for the search engine provider. That's the acquisition cost per conversion. And the difference of the two, you need to multiply by the number of conversions. So that's our profit function. Now, what most search engine providers do, in that case here Google, they provide the advertiser with a quality score. Essentially, the quality score weights how good the advertisement and the landing page fits to the respective keyword. So if there's a high fit, you receive a high weight. If there's a low fit, you will receive a low weight. And given that quality score, then the advertiser needs to bid. The advertiser in that case asks our cooperation partner, Sokero, to act on their behalf. So Sokero needs to make a decision about how much to bid. If they bid high, that means they end up at top of the page. If they bid low, that means they end up at the bottom of the page. So that influences the rank. The rank in itself influences two metrics. One is the click-through rate, meaning that's the percentage share of searchers who click on an ad, and the conversion rate, which is the percentage share of those who click and finally convert. And then we get back to our profit function. The conversion rate and the bid, they influence the acquisition cost per conversion. So for example, if you have a 5% conversion rate, that means if you get 20 clicks, one of those 20 clicks will convert into, for example, a new customer. If every single click costs you $1, that means you need to pay 20 times $1 to receive one conversion. So acquisition cost would be $20 in that case. And then, of course, we need to multiply that by the number of conversions, and that's simply the number of searchers times the percentage share of searchers who click, that is the click-through rate, times the percentage share of those who click and finally convert, this is the conversion rate. So that's essentially the structure of our bidding decision system. And now, of course, and then we would like to maximize the transactional profit. And now I would like to hand over to Nadia to characterize for you the optimal solution.
All right, so now that you've seen how the objective function looks like and how the bid influences transactional profit, I want to talk a bit about the optimal solution, how that looks like. First of all, optimal solutions could look quite differently in reality. This is one example over there where the green line is the profit, the red bars are the acquisition costs, and the yellow bars are the profits before acquisition costs. And what you see here is that this is a keyword where middle ranks are much more profitable than top ranks. But that could be different. There are some keywords where it definitely makes sense to bid at top ranks because there the profit is highest. Or you could have even keywords where it's completely unprofitable to bid at all, and that's why one should probably stop bidding on those keywords. But the question now is, what influences the optimal solution, and what does it depend on? And I want to go through 4 factors that influence the optimal solution. First of all, that's the profit contribution per conversion. Second, that's the conversion rate. Then I'll need the relationship between bid and rank. And fourth, I'll need the relationship between rank and click-through rate to determine the optimal bid. And I'll go through every one of those factors separately, and after that combine them all to come up with the optimal solution. First of all, we'll have the profit contribution per conversion. And if that one was high, then obviously you have more money to spend on the acquisition of new customers. So that's why if profit contribution is high, then you can spend more on the acquisition of new conversions, and that allows you to place a higher bid. Then we have the conversion rate. And the higher the conversion rate, the lower your acquisition costs per conversion are, which is good for the advertiser. And then the conversion rate also influences the number of conversions. So the higher the conversion rate, the higher the number of conversions that you'll receive. And that obviously means that a higher conversion rate translates into more successful search engine advertising, and that's an indication that you can also place a higher bid. Third, that's the third factor that I'll need, and that's the relationship between the bid and the rank. And the price response function that you see on the right-hand side shows you that for better ranks, you'll have to pay higher prices, as Bernd already pointed out. But these price response functions can look quite differently. The green one over there tells you that for all the ranks, you almost pay the same amount of money. And the orange one tells you that for better ranks, you'll have to pay a much higher price. So the steepness of these functions is reflected in something we call the percentage increase in prices per click. And that influences the acquisition costs per conversion. So the higher the percentage increase in prices per click, the more expensive better ranks are, and the more acquisition costs you'll have for those better ranks. And that indicates that the advertiser should probably place a lower bid. But that also depends on how the click-through rate relates to the rank. And again, you can have functions, click response functions, that look very flat. In that case, for all the ranks, you'll have almost the same click-through rate. Or you can have very steep functions where you see that with a better rank, you'll have a much better click-through rate. So that, again, is reflected in a percentage increase in click-through rates. And this influences the number of conversions. So the higher that one is, the more clicks you'll receive on better ranks, and the more conversions you'll receive on better ranks. And that's an indication that the advertiser can place a higher bid. Now, taken all together, we have the profit contribution per conversion, the conversion rate, and the percentage increase in click-through rates, and they all positively influence the optimal bid. But there's the percentage increase in prices per click, which decreases the optimal bid, and that's where the trade-off comes from in the whole optimization problem. And that's actually the closed-form solution that we came up from the optimization problem, and PC over there is the profit contribution per conversion, CR is the conversion rate, the C is the percentage increase in click-through rates, and delta gives you the percentage increase in prices per click. Now, interestingly, what we very often see in reality is that these percentage increases are very, very often very close together. Sometimes they're even equal. And if you think of a 2x2 matrix as on that chart, you'll see that if they're equal, you would either be in the low box at the upper left, in the upper left box, or you would have high percentage increases in the lower right box. But what does that mean? Going back to the optimal bid, you see over there that on the right-hand side of the optimal bid, we have the ratio of the percentage increases. And if the percentage increases really were very close together or even equal, that ratio would become 0.5. And we use this information because sometimes if we have too noisy data, we're not able to determine the percentage increases because the calibration of the price and the click response function sometimes fails. So in these cases, we build a heuristic which is based upon that finding that we often have equal percentage increases, and that means we have a heuristic where we bid the profit contribution per conversion times the conversion rate times 50%. So we have two bids implemented in the software, and Stefan is talking about more about how the software looks like, how it was applied, and its impact on, of course, Soquero and its clients.
Thank you, Nadia. Let me start out with a few key facts about Soquero. So we are a performance marketing agency based in Frankfurt. Last year, our clients, the clients that we manage together, spent 6.5 million euros on search engine advertising. And this is roughly across 40 different campaigns of those clients you can see on the right-hand side. So, PROSAD. Now, we had developed that mathematical model, and the first thing that we did is we translated that model and made a working software out of it. That software is up and running today, and it runs all of our campaigns. So I've brought a short video, about 1.5 minutes, who will give you an idea how the software looks like and how it works. The video will emphasize on 3 aspects. First, it will show you the old system, the rule-based approach. Then it will switch over to PROSAD. And at the end of the video, you will see what the recommendations of PROSAD look like. So here we go with the video. That's how we used to do it. You can see many different options to input different variables to calibrate the rules. So now we switch over to PROSAD application. Only a few input variables are required to run it. And now you will see what the solutions or the recommendation that once PROSAD is live will give you. Each row stands for a different keyword. And you can see what search engine you're bidding in, and you can see how many clicks you bought, how many conversions, what the click-through rate is. Most important, towards the end, you will get a recommendation, a recommended bid from PROSAD for each keyword. It will either increase or will decrease the bid, the current bid. I, as a campaign manager, always have the possibility to accept the recommendation, or I can decline it. If I want to know, or my client wants to know in a bit more detail, why the recommended bid is as it is, you can also hover over the keyword and it will show you the profit function. Or in that case, it will tell you that the heuristic was applied. Okay, step one, done. So we took the model and made a software application out of it. Now we wanted to see how it does in real life. So the first field test that we did on that model, we talked to a few of our clients, explained what we had developed together with the university, and we found one client. He allowed us for a period of 10 weeks to solely manage the campaigns with the PROSAD recommendations without any interference. The setup was that the client managed the campaigns himself before, and for the performance of the client, he managed to came out like zero. The money that he spent, he made in profits as well. So the ROI he did before in the 10 weeks was around zero. Now, let me show you what happened during the 10-week test. Basically, the numbers will compare 10 weeks performance before compared to the 10 weeks after on the PROSAD application. It will show you percentage changes. The green numbers, always good changes for our the green percentages will indicate good changes for our advertiser, the red ones, bad changes. So basically, the main factor that happened, the PROSAD bids over those 10 weeks were 30% lower than the bids the advertiser put in before himself. That's the main variable that was influenced here. All the other numbers are basically a result of that lower bids. So with having lower bids, what happened to the rank? The rank increased. So our ads moved towards the lower part of the search page in Google. So with having a higher rank, it means that we bought fewer clicks, about 40% fewer clicks. Also, the number of conversions, or the number of sales, if you like, went down about 68%. The profit per conversion went up. This is due to the fact that PROSAD concentrated on the more profitable keywords. Total profit before acquisition cost went down because we sold fewer products. The money that we paid Google, the acquisition cost, went down about 38%. So if you take the percentages and translate those into a euro value, we found out that on average of those 20 keywords that the test was with, on average we had an increase in profit, or the total profit after acquisition cost on a keyword level increased of €6.37. And that was a 10-week period. So the next thing we thought, how much will that make out for in 1 year time? That would be €33. And the ROI of that test was around 21%, which is just the total profit after the acquisition cost divided by the acquisition cost. So now we thought, having that test results, what would that do to all of our clients that we currently have? So we did a financial forecast for ourselves, starting the average result per keyword, the 33 euros. I'd say each campaign contains 2,000 keywords on average also. Multiply that out. Currently, we manage 40 different campaigns. And this will come each year to an increase in profit for our clients alone that we manage of 2.7 million euros. So, of course, those are our internal projections. And to show you that this is, PROSAD is already helping in real life our clients, Alexander from Best Western, one of our clients, was so kind to give a little statement. And here we go for Alexander.
We have been working with Sequero for 4 years now because of their excellent campaign management. They combine long-standing experience in search engine marketing and the gut feeling of their campaign managers with consequent marketing decision modeling. The bidding decision model developed by Bernd, Nadia and Sequero is a great tool to trade off between the acquisition cost per conversion and the number of conversions. We actually had to learn that simple bidding rules do not account for this trade-off, which we weren't fully aware of before we hired Sequero. Such oversimplistic bidding rules have obviously resulted in many suboptimal bidding decisions in the past. But thanks to Sequero and their bidding decision support system, we have improved the campaign's profitability by almost 250%. We never regret our decision to work with Sequero.
Okay, 250%. That's not too bad, I'd say. And to wrap it up, I'll give the stage back to Professor Skera.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan, for that nice presentation, and in particular for the wonderful collaboration that we had for so many years. So it's my privilege now to conclude, and as has become clear, essentially bidding is about trading off between having many customers at a rather high price per customer or having fewer customers at a rather low price. And what I also showed you before, the average price per click in the US is $3.54. So if you take that information with information that is provided by a study conducted by Google on the average conversion rate, you see those conversion rates varies across countries, but in the US, Google states it's a 1% conversion rate. So now if you do the math, if you pay 100 times $3.54 to acquire one customer, that's a price acquisition cost of $354, which I don't want to say is too much, but certainly it's a pretty ambitious amount. So if we take that result, we are rather likely that currently advertisers rather focus on acquiring many customers at a rather high price. And that result is actually in line with the learnings from our field experiment. So what PROSAD accomplished was a reduction in search engine advertising budget of 38%. And the return on investment for that lower budget was 21%. So if those results would hold for the industry, what would that mean? Well, we were talking before about a $12 billion business in the US alone. So if those results would hold true, a 38% reduction in the current budget for search engine advertising, that would mean a $4.6 billion. So that the overall budget for search engine advertising would drop to 7.4 billion. And I would say that's a pretty significant result for the search engine providers. What would it mean for advertisers? Well, the current budget is 12 billion. As Stefan has shown before, in the field experiment, the return on investment before using PROSAD was 0%. So now if the budget would decrease to 7.4 billion, and if everyone could realize a return on investment of 21%, so that would be a 1.5 billion. Now, of course, I can only provide some evidence that those results are likely, and certainly we have strong limitation on those results. However, I'm very confident to state that only with a system that maximizes profit, you have the ability to identify such solutions. And with this statement, I would like to close. I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and we are all three looking forward for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of related questions on the field study. The fact is that you say it was a 10-week study, right? So there are a couple of related issues. One is, what would be the long-term impact of this? It seems like these are interesting short-term results, but if you look, the number of clicks are down 42%. Suppose it's a company that has multi-products, and by clicking through, people get exposed to other products, not like Best Western, which is basically selling hotel rooms, but say an online retailer such as an Amazon or a company like that. Wouldn't these results be overstating the impact for of the model for a multi-product company, where a decrease in that percent of the number of clicks could be, in fact, in the long term, damaging to the number of people that are actually being exposed to the products on the website? So that's one question. The second question is, the results are kind of dependent on this one company. Suppose they're very bad at picking keywords before, or aren't the results somewhat, or maybe they were very good. I mean, we don't really know. One test is a bit of a limitation. But I think my first question, I'd like a response to that, because I'm not sure that kind of a decrease in clicks, the trade-off here in the long term is actually going to be healthy for the site.
Okay. I suggest I answer the first question, and Stefan might want to comment on that one, and then Nadia will answer the second one. That's a very frequent, our recommendation was to reduce the search engine budget, and that's a little bit against the trend in the industry, where everyone is very excited about the opportunities in online marketing. And usually, that industry is growing and everyone is putting in more money. However, if you think about what is going to happen if you have a rule-based decision system and you say, okay, I would like to be among the top 3 advertisers, and you have 3 competitors that have the same rule, then the result is pretty clear. You will simply bid up at very high prices. So if you somehow believe in market, there should be some efficient structure. And I would say, overall, given all the hype currently going on, companies might spend rather a huge amount of money on search engine advertising. And Stefan, you might want to comment on that one as well.
So what you're basically saying is the reduced amount of clicks and how people interact on your site. So for me, it's a kind of question on how you track that, or how much is it worth to you. If people, on average, the tracking system can tell you, if you buy someone, what is the average time on the site that they spend, how many products do they look at, and you can incorporate that into the profit that you calculate. If you calculate it maybe 0.5% of your margin, and you calculate it in the beginning. So I'd say if you say that people on certain keywords look at many different products on your website, and you can say you have a 10% margin, and you might say then, it's worth another 2% extra for me, so I calculate it as maybe a 12% margin.
Okay, and I'll answer the second question maybe, and I have to go to...
Well, actually, I just want...
Okay, sorry.
I guess I would just suggest that, to follow this up, that you run it longer on a multi-product website to see that the results are, in fact, hold, because I'm not fully convinced that the results are replicable for a more complex product. Because if I visit a website, I may see a brand, I'm at Land's End, or I think about it, and I may go back in a couple of months if I've seen it. If I've never seen it, okay, then I don't go back. And anyway, I don't want to belabor the point.
Okay, I have to look where it is. Okay, we have a simulation study as well. And that is actually based on the model that we have. And we have tested or simulated keywords. It was about 920 keywords that we simulated, different keywords in profits and click-through rate and stuff like that. And we tested all those different heuristics that you see over there. So we had a rank heuristic, a price per click heuristic, then we had click-through rate heuristics, and the costs per profit heuristic, which we also describe in our article. And if you look at the results, I don't know whether it's a bit too small, but what it actually tells you is that the rank heuristic, if the rank heuristic was profitable, or in those cases where it's profitable, the deviation from the optimal solution is quite small. However, for all the keywords taken together, the rank heuristic works quite badly. And then we have other heuristics where you can also see that the deviations are quite substantial. Apart from the cost per profit heuristic, where we never have unprofitable keywords, which is why it works so good. I mean, there might be a deviation from the optimal value, but at least you're not unprofitable. And I guess that simulation study at least shows a bit that, of course, the Strawman argument might be right. I can't tell whether it's true or not, but the simulation study might also show the directions of those deviations.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, could you go to your framework slide, please? I have a few questions on the framework. The boxes and arrows.
Yeah.
That one, right, all the way. Okay, the first question is, my understanding is that click-through rates are calculated off number of impressions rather than the number of searches for a keyword. I don't know if we're in a semantic question here, but I guess my question is, you're considering this number of searches to be something that's exogenous, but won't your bid affect the number of impressions you get of your ad, and shouldn't that be incorporated in the framework? So in other words, you'll be shown more often if you bid higher, and shouldn't that be in the framework?
Well, first of all, I agree. Usually it's called impressions. Our idea was to use searches here, that this is somehow easier to understand for non-experts from the industry. But I agree the technical word would be indeed impressions. So it's right. So
you do mean impressions, but then shouldn't the number of impressions be a function of what of your bid? If you bid higher, you know, you're worth more to Google, and they'll give you more impressions, no?
Yeah, there's certainly a difference whether you're on the first page of the search engine results or on the second page of the search engine results, because obviously not all users go to the second search results page. But as long as you're on the same page, I mean, this is you get the same number of searches, but of course, then the click-through rate differs. So whether you're on position 3 or on position 1, you're displayed as often. The major difference is that you have a difference in the click-through rate.
Okay. Well, not to belabor it, but so you're saying that the size of your bid will not influence the number of impressions that you get, the number of times that you do appear somewhere on the page?
No, but it influences the click-through rate, which will go down.
Okay.
What the alternative would be is that we would have an influence on the number of searches, and then we would have to start on the second page with a rather high click-through rate, and that would diminish again. So that would be an alternative. We preferred a very simple structure.
Okay. Another question I had was on the quality score. And as you know, the quality score is a function of your previous click-through rates and so on. So my question is there really a dynamic going on here that as you bid in a certain way, you'll get certain click-through rates which feed back to your quality score and so on? So shouldn't this be managed dynamically, or does that make it too complex, or what?
I mean, you're completely right. There is probably an endogeneity problem going on there. But the problem was that we were trying to keep it as simple as possible. It was already complicated to program all that stuff, and Stefan can tell a bit more about it. But we have another paper where we have the quality score, and it's endogenously determined. So, but in that system, we don't do that because it would be a bit too complicated to have, I don't know, a specific estimation method that would be needed.
Okay, just one more, and then I think we want to turn it over. But the one more would be, although it's in your paper, you didn't say much about how you estimate these multipliers. Could you say a little bit about how you estimate? My understanding is that you estimate these multipliers, they're keyword specific, for example, And could you say a little bit about that estimation and where you get the data from and so on?
I guess I have to go back. Sorry. There it is. Do you want to answer? Okay. Well, it's historical data. It's like what we usually do. We run PROSAD every week, or that's what they do. And then they take a history of 6 weeks. So you get all the costs per click, the clicks, the conversions, and so on, the profits, all what you need. And then we would essentially run such a regression in log linear form, where we control for quality score, we control for a time trend, because sometimes you have decreasing or increasing bids over time. It's keyword specific. So we run that regression for every keyword, and that's how it's actually determined.
Okay. So if you were coming, let's say, cold, into a company that was doing this for the first time,
yeah.
What would you do? How would you get the data? Would you say, hey, do what you want for a few weeks, and then, or how would you, where would you start?
No, actually, you have to distinguish two situations. Usually for the advertiser, it's best if they still own the account. And even if they used an online advertising agency before, that they always get access to what I would consider to be their data. Sometimes it happens that the agency is everything doing by themselves and do not provide access to the advertiser to what I would consider to be their data. That's, of course, a bad situation, and then, of course, you would have to start the system. However, if you get access to the previous data, then, you can easily calibrate the functions. And I would like to focus on, again, the idea that we used in the model here is to keep it so simple that everything is done automatically.
Right.
Yeah? So that's the idea. So I agree there might be some improvements possible in terms of considering endogeneity, and we did that in other papers. However, even running a regression in a PHP program is already pretty much of a challenge, and Stefan could tell you a bit more about that one.